This seems like a simple problem to solve. Like, how difficult can it be to move money from point A to point B? It's not easy to take the latest technology and build a great product out of it. You have a lot of founders who come from industry background, but they don't know how to build products.
What do you guys do when arguments come up?
I think it's very important to have healthy friction. That actually he was not the first person I asked to start a project. He was probably the fifth person that I asked.
Wow.
We also think very deeply about what is our right to win. We can't go into every business. At the start of the business, all of us do everything, and that is how it should be. Every operational area that we are figuring out how we can leverage AI and make that really better, and it is giving absolutely phenomenal results.
If you were to restart or redo a whole thing, would it still be B2B fintech, or like today you think the new wave could look something else? Hey Shashank, welcome to Lunch Break with Lightspeed. Thanks a lot for giving out time for this.
Thanks, Anuvrat. Yeah, excited to be here.
No, awesome. We thought we should maybe do it slightly differently. I think a lot of people know. I think you have to be living under a cave to not know who Shashank is or what Razorpay is. But I thought maybe we can cover a few topics today, talk a bit about what's next for Razorpay from here on, and what's next for Shashank and the entire team for Razorpay from here on. But before we get there, maybe would love to understand, like, from Microsoft to SME payments to this giant financial services platform that you guys have built. Like, how did the initial journey happen? Like, how did you decide to go into the hard space of payments in India?
I think so. I graduated from IIT Roorkee in 2012 and went to Microsoft in Seattle directly. Right, so yeah, this is before all the H1B issues have been happening now. So I had a good job there. Really enjoyed my time. I was earning well, but I think there was no sort of inner satisfaction. I started looking at what else can I do? Like, can I do some side project? Can I build something out, right? For India, not necessarily a startup, because that was not something I had even thought about or even imagined that, hey, I should do a startup, right? So it was more like, okay, let's build something that we can sort of launch in India, like a side project, and see what happens, right? And I pinged a bunch of folks, and Harshal sort of came on board. And that's how we started building something. So we were actually initially building like a very nice crowdfunding portal for donations for different kind of causes in India. And mostly with the focus of like corporate white collar employees. Like, how do you encourage them, right, to contribute to some cause in India that they are passionate about, right? And as part of that journey, what happened, like, we wanted a payment gateway. So we thought that there'll be a lot more startups that will come across in India, right, in next decade, and everyone will start in let's say, in some random place in the country, right? I mean, in some room, in some college, in someone's like house, right? And they will want the payments experience. And when we looked around, I think all the SMEs, most of the smaller companies didn't have a great experience. I think that most of the incumbents and banks are focused on enterprises, because that's where like your volumes and sort of revenue lies. But we thought, like, hey, this seems like a simple problem to solve. Like, we know engineering, we know tech, we know how to write code, and how difficult can it be to move money from point A to point B for most of the startups or businesses that are out there. So we're like, okay, maybe we can change this. And we had a lot of I don't know, like some sort of optimism, naive optimism, that we can take on this problem and we can go through it at that point.
No, Shashank, you mentioned a very interesting point that these startups start from anywhere in the corner of country, right? Could be someone's house, so could be someone's garage, could be someone's office, and everyone wanted a digital experience. And I've known you guys long enough now to say you guys have a very strong technological moat. But as we also have understood, spending time with you guys, it's not just about technology. It's a lot more about interconnectedness. You have to have a relationship with banking partners, with UPI, with NPCI, with your customers. So it becomes a very operational complex business. How do you marry the two, the technological moat, the regulatory hassle, the operational complexity? Like, how do you kind of manage these three around together in your business, which is in itself very complex?
See, I'll tell you, I think the most important part is the technology part. Okay, because it's not easy to take the latest technology and build a great product out of it. Okay. At least in my mind, like that's the most important part for you to build a high growth startup, which is to build a great product, right? But I think the banking part is really pretty real, especially 10 years ago. Today banks are a lot more open to working with startups, with fintechs, right? At that point of time, even the term fintech was not common.
Not common.
But at the end of the day, if you think about it, right? I mean, when you build a startup, when you build a company, you will have a lot of these problems at every stage, right? We talked to a lot of bankers. In fact, when we started, we used to go to bank branches, then we started going to regional headquarters, then we started going to national headquarters. We ourselves graduated from like wearing t-shirts to shirts to blazers, right? We built out like a whole business plan, using internet. And by the way, that business plan, was way off, right? Because
Yes.
I think business did much better than what we could have imagined, and all of that, right? But we learned those things and we put it out there and we built it out, right? And we talked to many bankers to get our first approval, And the thing is that, that persistence, that relationship that you build, I think it pays off, because I think the issue that happens in this industry, at least, right? You have a lot of founders who come from industry background, who have this large of a network, but they don't know how to build products. And at the end of the day, a better product wins over relationships and everything else. So as a founder, if you can build good technology, I think that is your real moat, right? Because other things are something like building relationships, working with banks, working compliance. These are skills that can be more easily learned. And now you have a lot of support available, a lot of mentors, a lot of VCs, a lot of angels like me and many other founders, right, who have built this out, right, who are able to advise the founders as well at every step. But yeah, you have to go through that grind. There's no escape, right? We almost worked with our first banking partner, HDFC Bank, for almost like 1 year plus before we went live with the product.
Oh, wow.
So that really took a lot of patience. We've tick marked every compliance procedure or process that the bank told us to, right? But at the end of the day, that's if you're looking to build a fintech company, a payments company, then these are hygiene and table stakes thing that you have to take care of. Another thing, I think, on the compliances part, I mean, I feel most of the compliances in the country are built with the protection of the people at large, right? So we sort of accept it as the reality of doing business in India, right? We try to understand like what's the spirit with which the regulator is operating, what the spirit with which the ecosystem is operating, right? And how we can build with that in mind. So I think we take that very seriously. We have tried to bake it into the DNA of the company to the extent possible. And I think now it's sort of, regulations, if you look at it, have been an enabler for the industry, because payments industry has grown from, literally from zero to billions of dollars,
now,
right?
yes.
At this point, and all of that has happened under the watch of the regulator of the government. So in that sense, I feel like they are fairly pro payments and fintech industry, and I think that is only going to increase.
Shashank, you mentioned you went from t-shirts to shirts to blazer, and I think it's been 12 years that you guys have been at it. But one thing which is very true about Razorpay, especially in the industry you are in, is you are by far the leader, and the second player is fairly far behind, or at least it's not an industry where there are 3 large winners, right? At least on the SME fintech side, SME payment side, and the overall large scheme of things that you are operating as. You're not just a payment gateway anymore. There is banking, there is payroll, you guys said there is international, there is cross-border. How did you manage to be number one throughout this phase over the last 12 years?
We have had conversations with a lot of VCs that, hey, if you do BNPL, we'll give you funding. And I'm like, boss, we can't do something just because you're saying that,
Yes.
right? I mean, at the end of the day, you can build a great business by listening to customers and building something that they truly want. And in fintech, you have to be at the intersection of what the customers want and what the regulator also sees is important for a billion plus population, right? How to safeguard that population, right? So that in itself, is something that I feel like most of the ecosystem, keeps changing trends, right? So you have to figure out okay, what is the thing that you want to go deep on that is beneficial for the country from a long-term perspective, right? And we have this process internally that obviously we collect a lot of, conversation with the customers, but we also try to understand what is the long-term vision of the country? And there are enough and more talked about from the government, from the regulator on where they want to take the ecosystem. Right? We also think very deeply about what is our right to win. We can't go into every business. It's not possible at all, right? Chasing and becoming a leader in one business, which is like we are just doing online payments for businesses in the country for the initial 5-6 years. That was the only thing we did. Just doing a great job in that one business itself is extremely tough.
Yes.
And we did so many things. We cut down on onboarding time significantly. We launched like world-class checkout products. We launched no-code tools, like payment links, recurring payments, right? Which were all real asks, for our customers, right? But at the same time, if you start doing all the other things also, that hey, we'll build a consumer wallet or we'll go into crypto, which are not the ask from customers at that point of time. Yes, that is a great technology, and maybe at some point it will mature where businesses need that and consumers need that. But we figured that is not at that point. So saying no to these things very brutally becomes very important, especially in the first few years of the company, where you become really confident with what you are up to.
Very cool. So you're saying it was the sheer focus that this is the surface area we want to operate in today, and of course over time the surface area may change or expand altogether, but a point in time that's how you kind of persist.
Yeah, absolutely. At least you get to some sort of market leadership or significant market share where you really know that the customers love you, the customers are using your product, are recommending your product, right? And you are growing organically, at a very good clip, right? You're beyond PMF and at a certain scale. I think diversifying your focus just kills it in a significant way. So at least for the initial few years of a startup, until you reach a certain scale, you have to consciously say yes to very few things which help your vision, which help your mission, and say no to everything else.
Very cool. Maybe Shashank is moving on to one very interesting topic I've seen in companies like yourselves, right, which have multiple co-founders. You guys have you and Harshal together, right? And I've known you both individually and together. So I think there are some aspects of personality which are similar, some aspects of personality which are different. How did you guys manage to kind of maintain that? How did you guys decide you focus on X, I focus on Y? What do you guys do when arguments come up?
One of the good things that was the case is that both of us were in the same college, right? So we had like a very strong friendship and also some sort of working relationship few years starting Razorpay, right? And actually, Harshal teases me that actually he was not the first person I asked to start a project. So it's not like a default choice for a co-founder. He was probably the fifth person that I asked, let's do something, right? But to his credit, he is the only one who said yes, right? So, it's very passionate guy, very deeply technology focused, similar to me, right? But we have very different personalities. Like I'm a lot more introvert. Yes. I'm a lot more focused on core engineering, right? He's a lot more extrovert. He's very good with a lot of handling like very wide scale operations, along with understanding the value of tech, right? And see what happens at the start of the business. All of us do everything, I think, and that is how it should be. Like there's no boundary, right? Like you pick up whatever task you can pick up and just do a great job at it, right? But over time, I think you start specializing very naturally, right? In our case, like all the compliances and regulations were really important. GTM was really important, and Harshal was like, okay, I'll let me focus on this. I think this is really needed for the business, right? And I was anyways building out like the core tech product. Even to this date, I sort of lead that function and go very deep on it, right? So we developed our skills in a very complementary manner, And I think when it comes to arguments, I think it's very important to have healthy friction. Like it can't be like everything super smooth all the time, because then it means you are not challenging each other, right? We have like a lot of debates with each other all the time, right? I think at the end of the day, like we figure that, look, if you want to take any major initiative, then both of us need to be aligned.
Yes.
It can't just be one person who is saying yes and sort of like, going ahead. And those are very few decisions for the company, I would say, right? Like, probably one or two every year where we are taking a major big bet, huge, needle mover, right? Otherwise, in most cases, you can turn back, you can try something. And if it doesn't work out, you can turn back as well. So the cost of experimentation needs to be low, in the defined area that you are working in, right? And see, the other thing is, I think we also give a lot of leeway to each other to try out things which we are passionate about.
Are there any areas where either of you have a veto?
I think quite a few areas like leadership hiring, for example, both of us need to be absolutely aligned. Any CXO or SVP hires, that are there even at this stage, at that time,
Even today also.
even today, the kind of areas that we invest in, the kind of products that we launch, right? Again, both of us need to be aligned. Like if we're investing in any new product, then we need to be aligned that this is what we want to do, right? So a lot of these areas, like we absolutely need to be aligned on. But within that, like, hey, like, you're launching a new feature, it's okay, like, go ahead and launch, right? I mean, it's not everything needs sign off from everyone, right? If you want to try a new GTM strategy, I might have misgivings about it. Like, this GTM strategy might not work. Like, it's absolutely bullshit, right? I can just come out and say it to his face and we can argue about it. But at the end of the day, if he feels passionate about it, right, I think it's okay to try it. Yeah, because at max, what will happen? You'll fail, right? And I'm a very strong believer in doing a lot of experiments, right? So, a lot of our initiatives that have worked well have been like completely experiments that we figured out, okay, like, let's just do it and see. So we started this initiative called Rise, I think few years ago, where we actually help businesses register themselves, right? And when it started, like, we don't know how whether businesses will, I mean, founders will like this service from us because there are a lot of CAs who do it, right? But doing it in a digital first manner and hand-holding the founder, because there's so much misinformation that exists out there, really helped us. And today we do more than like 5% of the full business registrations in the country.
Wow.
That is happening, and that is scale like in just like last 2 years itself, right? When we started to do something on the cross-border side, right? It's very difficult to understand what is the regulation, how are banks gonna support this, right? But we felt like, hey, like, this is something that will be important for the country, because we will do more and more exports as time goes on, and it is a very painful area. So there are a lot of pain points, there are a lot of challenges, regulations-wise, from the ecosystem-wise, but it's such a huge pain for the founders. It's such a huge pain for the entrepreneurs, for the businesses. So we kept investing in that problem statement almost for like 3-4 years before we got good returns on it. But once things fell into place, it just took off, because once you solve a problem really well, I think everyone wants to take that pain off their hands, right? And that's what happened. So I think it takes a lot of gut conviction. It takes a lot of understanding of the ecosystem, right, to bet on those ideas. But that's how like we and Harshil have managed it.
Cool. I think you guys have sorted couples counseling very much between yourselves. So that's very cool. Shashank, moving on, I think no conversation today is complete without one topic, which is AI. You guys have launched something called, I think, Razorpay Ray, which is an AI assistant customer. So like, if I were to just double click there, how are you guys using AI first for your internal business and internal consumption? And what could we expect coming out of Razorpay for customers, for businesses as AI solutions?
This AI theme is a huge disruption for the world, right? I think most of the companies are still sleeping on it, if I can say that. Because the way products get developed, the way a lot of operations happen is gonna completely change.
Yes.
In the next few years, right? It's already happening at a very rapid pace. So at least we at Razorpay like took a call, at the start of this year that there is something that we need to really understand it and build it as part of our DNA, right? So we had a huge top-down as well as bottom-up push for every single person in the company to figure out how they can leverage AI for their functions, for what they do on a day-to-day basis, right? And that culture has really taken hold. So now today, I think if I talk about internally, right, from a business lens, any operational process that we have, whether it's customer onboarding, whether it is like fraud detection, whether it is like figuring out like in customer support, every operational area that we have, we are figuring out how we can leverage AI and make that really better, and it is giving absolutely phenomenal results. So something like this is only possible with AI because AI can actually understand the query in any language and then form the response and give it back in any language as well, right? Respond back in any language as well. So that part becomes very important. So all three, right? The quality aspect, the scale aspect, the speed aspect, the aspect of like supporting a lot more use cases. All of that improves with AI in a significant way.
Razorpay is now in Malaysia and doing very well there. You guys are also thinking about Singapore. You guys are large in cross-border. There is payroll, there is banking. I think Razorpay corporate cards are making a comeback after a few years. So talk to us a bit about these businesses. How did you think about going beyond payments to these 7, 8 new streamlines of business?
The two ways we have thought about it, right? I think one of the biggest strengths that we have today now is the tech capability that we have building like really new age modern products, right? And second is the distribution, right? I mean, we have like a very wide customer base at this point of time, and they look up to us in terms of like providing payment products, financial products that are there, right? And I'll tell you what has happened very organically in last 10 years, right? Every time any customer faces a problem, in terms of their financial operations, they come to us first, whether we can solve it for them, right? Usually what's been the trend is that they will go to their banking partner, right? But I think a lot of operations have become software operated now, right? And which is where, like, while the bank can provide the underlying infrastructure, which is very important, but they still need a software layer, a software partner on top, right? And that's what we have been following. Like, we accept payments for most of the customers that are there, right? But at the end of the day, we disburse it to their current account, let's say, right? Now, what happens if you look at like a lot of industries, take lending as an example, or take e-commerce as an example, a lot of marketplaces, they have to further disburse loans, or if you have Uber, Ola, they have to further disburse payments to their drivers, which are the vendors, right? Or for marketplaces, they have to disburse to the sellers, right? So a lot of these industries, managing their treasury and managing the payouts at scale becomes a very critical aspect for them, right? And that is where we again felt the need, hey, like this is something that we can solve. Like, banks obviously provide the infrastructure, but you need a layer on top, which is intelligent, which can understand how to operate payouts at scale, for example, right? How to manage the money movement aspect between the sellers and the buyers and between the marketplace and the vendors, right? And those are the use cases that we are focused on, we have really solved through our new banking umbrella.
And these products and these services are primarily SME and startup focused, or this could apply, it does not matter the size of the company or the sector of the company or the need of the company, this could apply on all of them. Like
No,
how you guys built up?
It applies on all of them. I think whenever we start a product, we usually start with one customer segment in mind, and usually our ideal customer segment is startups. So we usually start something with the startups in mind, but over time the product matures to cover both enterprises as well as like even small scale 1-person companies, right? So you would be surprised, like we have customers, let's say like Rapido or Ola, right, who pay their drivers using our product at scale, and their financial operations are extremely dependent in that sense in how well we can maintain our infrastructure and how well we can operate that. And that reduces their cost of operation significantly, because otherwise you need to have probably like a 20-30 member team just to manage that part, and any failures that happen, then how do you recover from it? So we are able to operate that a lot better at our scale, and from that learnings continuously improve our product. And I think this is one thing that I'm really proud of. Like if you look at, say, someone like Flipkart, for example, they had to set up this whole infrastructure themselves because they started in 2008, 2010, and there were no fintechs available at that point of time. And I think one of the reasons they did well is because they set this infra really well, right? But I think as we at Razorpay has been able to take that problem statement and really democratize it. So today, earlier if it used to take like 1 year, 2 year of investment to solve that problem statement, now you can get it up and running in like 5 minutes, right? And now this is not the problem that is gonna be an innovation blocker for the ecosystem. So that is one way we have thought about it. Like, okay, what are the new products which we can build for Indian businesses? Another thing that we have launched and scaled in last 1 year is on the marketing fronts. Like we have built out marketing products like gift cards.
This is part of the Engage.
Which is part of our Razorpay
Yes.
Engage unit, right? Recently, we launched an Apple gift card for all the Apple premium resellers, right? Can you imagine, like if you want to, you have Amazon gift card and you have Flipkart gift card, but if you want to buy an iPhone and you want to gift someone, from that lens, there was no product available because of the complexity inherent in that part, right? So we worked with Apple, we worked with various resellers to bring that together and like really launch it, right? For our cross-border payments recently, again, like we launched the Apple Pay
I saw that.
integration, right? And that has been such a phenomenal hit for all our customers. And in fact, most of the SMEs have really benefited from it because the Apple Pay brand is really popular in in US and Europe. and it becomes a strong differentiator for us in the market as well. This is the software part which is really making us strong play, right? So this is how we have operated. I think the third thing which is on the international expansion side. See, I feel like we are really proud of the payments infrastructure that we have built. This is like the lowest cost, highest scale payments infrastructure anywhere in the world,
Yes.
right? And I think India as an ecosystem on the back of UPI, right, and everything else has done a fab job in doing that. But if you look at like a lot of emerging economies across the world, they have very similar problems than in India, right? They want a low-cost infrastructure. They want to digitize their economy, their people, right? They want to support SMEs in a very strong way and make them like technology first, digital first, right? And those are the goals which we feel like we can help further in a very strong way using the payments infrastructure that we have built, right? So I feel like we have this amazing opportunity, right, working with a lot of governments, a lot of regulators in bringing real-time payments infrastructure and doing the last mile part, because it's those countries who really invest in building out UPI-like infrastructure in their in their geographies, but the last mile is really tough. That is where the government regulator can partner with private enterprises like ours, and we solve for the customer service, the hand-holding, the education, the exchange between the buyer and the seller. We solve for all of those pain points, and we have done it in India in scale. And that is why when we took it to Malaysia recently, we have launched it in Singapore. I think the local, the entrepreneurs, the ecosystem, really loves that we are solving these pain points for them, because it's otherwise it takes a lot of years to set up that infrastructure and operate it at scale.
No, I agree. Like, I'll tell you, as investors, it was a very proud moment for us to see you guys take what you've built here on ground to the world. And very, very few companies, especially on the startup and the tech ecosystem side, have done an India to the world journey. Many of them just built for India, which in itself is a large market. And again, you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But very few companies have taken it outside, and you guys are one of them. How did you decide on Malaysia, for example, of all the places in the world? Why Malaysia?
This is a very interesting question. I think we felt that Malaysia is fairly like digital native to a good extent, not as much as a developed country, but not like really behind India in that sense. Like it's keeping pace in terms of the digital payments that are happening. Fairly native English speaking population, that is there. Like lot of cross section of like startups, corporates. Malaysia has a very thriving like SME ecosystem, a very welcoming regulator, which is also always very important part. Sort of a maturing regulatory landscape. So all of these things put together gave us the confidence. And also, it's not very large like a US or Indonesia, but not super small. Like you don't have enough of a market size, right? So that gave us the confidence. And I think second, we found like really good partners in the colleague founders that we worked with in Malaysia, right? So these two things came together for us to give that confidence in Malaysia. And I think in the last 3-4 years, like the business has done really well there. Like we have almost like 4-5% market share on the online payment space, and we want to like do more and more in the country, because I think we are getting a lot of love there, right? And from there on, then we did Singapore. We launched in Singapore almost like 4-5 months ago, and I think there's amazing Indian diaspora that exists in a lot of these countries, right? And Singapore is such an amazing hub for cross-border transactions. It really punches above its weight. It's
one of the largest hubs in Asia.
It's one of the largest hubs in Asia, right? And I think we also see that for ourselves, that it can be like a great hub for for India, Southeast Asia, and the cross-border transactions within multiple geographies, right? So I think we want to keep expanding in Southeast Asia for a lot of global MNCs when they come to the emerging economies, right? I mean, they need a reliable local payment partner who understands how these countries work. They are not card-heavy markets in themselves, right? But they can also provide the quality and the scale that they want from a payment vendor, right? So there are very few players who have that local know-how as well as the quality and the scale that global MNCs expect. And I think increasingly that is the ask from most of the companies in these countries as well. So that's why I feel like we have the strength to do that. And we want to do it very slowly, very organically. We are not in a rush. Like we feel like this opportunity, this payments opportunity is like, going to be a really large one for next 20 years. And we want to keep figuring out like how we build the right products with the right customers with very local GTM, right? And do it in a way that we get a lot of customer love.
Shashank, maybe just switching gears a bit, right? You mentioned, I think at the start, like the first 200 or 150 employees, you guys always, you and Harshil always had alignment on how you want to hire, who you want to hire. And you also mentioned that, and I see it even now, right, that you guys have a very different curiosity, very different hustle, very different hunger. Even after making Razorpay what it has become, and I know enough team members who kind of, burn the midnight oil, if I may say that, to still build this organization much, much larger. How do you do that now as well with what, 2,500 employees or even more at Razorpay, right? Come in the way of saying you're not a startup anymore. You are a company.
I think we are still a startup.
How do you maintain that? Like, how do you maintain that we are still a startup mentality while being as even larger than many companies in the country?
See, I think the way hiring happens at each stage changes, right? But the fundamental principles sort of remain the same. I think in early stage, we used to hire a lot more generalists, who, and given we were very young founders, right? So it was easier for us to hire younger folks rather than very senior folks at that point of time. But I have certain philosophy that, look, we'll always want to hire people who have a hunger to do amazing work. There are people who want to focus on being 9 to 5, right? And which is okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, right? But there are people who want to go out there and say, you know what, like, I want to build the best product in the world. I want to build the best sales team in the world, right? And that hunger, that passion is really important. It's like something that we look for, that we hire for, right? That you need to have a chip on your shoulder sometimes, or you need to have this very high quality bar in terms of what you are building and putting out there. And those are the kind of people that we hire, right? So if you hire this combination of hunger, passion, and a very high quality bar in terms of execution and people, it really helps you build a very high quality team at the company who can go on and take on any problem statement.
Is there something different you do on a regular basis? Like, let's say you've hired these superstars who have a hunger to change the world, but how do you take it out of them? Like, is there a different philosophy that you guys follow versus some other peers of yours? Is like for example, I think Jeff Bezos at Amazon says they don't believe in PPTs. They believe in word memos because it kind of puts your clarity out thought. Is there a different process you follow?
So I'm a very big fan of decentralized innovation and execution. It's not just like who is the leader who is operating, right? But even like at a smaller unit level, there is let's say one pod of 10 people, engineers and product manager and designer and the corresponding sales team, right? Who is operating, let's say, a product like payroll, for example, right? Or you're operating, let's say, just like how do refunds happen at Razorpay, right? So I'm a big fan of figuring out how can that small team punch above its weight and do a phenomenal job on the goal that they have, right? So the way we have done these things, right? First is very crystal clear on the culture aspect, right? We have certain values that we have, which is very free flow of information, huge amount of transparency. Sometimes that can result into a lot of noise, but it also ensures that the person is very well aware of what is happening around them in the company, right? They have easy access to information, right? Second, as I said, is the people part, hire really good, hungry, passionate, high quality people in the company, right? And the third, which is sort of the rituals at Razorpay, right? Which is how do we have our annual strategy and goals, flowing throughout the company, right? Because it's not just that, hey, this is what we want to grow from a top line perspective from A to B at the start of the year. No, it's not just that, right? But how do you break it down into really meaningful, chunky goals for each of the individuals to have, so that they feel that this is their goal, right? It's very difficult to think, oh, how am I influencing the top line of the company? Like the top line is moving from 500 crores to 1,000 crores or to 1,500 crores. They may feel very powerless in terms of doing that, right? But a very meaningful problem statement, let's say, I want to build the 7-star refund experience for all the customers, right? Or I want to build, let's say, the best payroll experience, right? And that can be done by a team of 10, 20 people. It's a problem statement that they can control, that they have end-to-end empowerment over, right? And they can ask for any help that they need. And they just need to be concerned about that problem statement, right? And that's where that innovation angle then kicks in, because they know this is the North Star, right? We decide the goals in collaboration, this is what the goal needs to look like, let's say, for the year, right? But they're absolutely free to execute however they want towards it. And then a lot of new ideas come from people who are very close to that problem statement and who are very close to customers in how to solve this. What solutions to prioritize, which partners to work with, which customers to roll this out to and experiment and validate whether it's actually solving the problem, right? So we keep thinking, okay, how do we keep pushing the execution closer to the ground so that we are not like sitting in our whatever ivory towers and like taking calls, and like our people are like really who are on the front lines are managing this execution aspect, right? That I feel has been the biggest strength for us, and that is what has helped us scale across products, which is finding the right people, setting the right goals, and then really empowering them in terms of building their team, building their roadmap, talking to customers and the GTMs, and that has helped us scale.
Now maybe Shashank, moving a bit more philosophical, right? You guys are still in your 30s, so it's not like you guys still have half your life to do this. Like if you were to restart or redo a whole thing, would it still be B2B fintech, or like today you think the new wave could look something else? Like what would it be today if you were to restart? I'm not suggesting you do restart, we still want you to run Razorpay. But if you were to restart today as a founder, what are the areas you think are super exciting or are keeping you up at night?
See, I'll tell you, I think the biggest technology shift is happening right now beneath our feet, right? AI as an enabler, as a technology, infrastructure and the kind of capability that it provides, it's going to be bigger than any trend, any changes that have come in the past, right? It's going to be like electricity, for example. It's gonna power anything to everything in this world. Take any industry or vertical or problem statement, right? I'll give you one example that we are analyzing. Okay, how can we do better customer support leveraging AI, right? And there are so many smaller problem statements hidden in that statement. Like, okay, how do you build your SOP in an AI first world? Can AI build your SOP directly seeing the code, directly seeing what how people interact with the system, right? How do you figure out the quality of responses again in a very automated fashion, right? How do you do all kinds of sentiment analysis and figure out like where you're having hotspots in the company, right? All of these problem statements are something which are very difficult to solve for earlier, for example, and can be done really well with AI. And this is just like in one bucket that I've talked about, right? And each of these problem statements is something that can result into multi-billion-dollar companies, right?
Yes.
You know that very well. Like if you go and talk to all the banks, all the BFSI customers, that are there, all the OTA. I mean, these are problem statements that are very chunky, large problem statements. In India itself, and obviously in a huge way across the world, right? So I think if I have to restart, I'll pick up a very deep problem statement which can be solved with AI in a way that it really changes the game. I think we have seen that happening, in Silicon Valley in a big way.
Yes.
Right. Of course, you have the general purpose, general infra AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and all who are attacking it in a big way. But a lot of user applications, a lot of niche applications are getting developed in AI and scaling at a very rapid pace.
Yeah,
right?
and we are seeing these niche companies also become much larger.
Yeah.
Than a normal startup
Yeah,
or a normal
absolutely,
company.
absolutely.
Yes.
I think there is no reason you can't do it in India as well. You have that opportunity, right? We're speaking to emergent payments, right? I mean, and they have built a lot of their product from India, for the world, right? So I think we need to have massive ambition in terms of attacking these problem statements because I think there are more VCs chasing entrepreneurs in that sense, right?
Yes.
You need like ambitious founders who can really build amazing products and do that, right? So I think you have to restart. I'll definitely go all in on AI and see like what is the best thing that I can do there.
No, on that note, Shashank, thank you so much for taking our time.
Thanks a lot.